Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutah Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedais Sanga Padakramo Upanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidus Suras Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Sandhya Vandanam is a ritual, a karma, an act to be performed by all those who have undergone the thread ceremony or the Upanayanam. Basically, Sandhya Vandanam is a prayer to nature, a prayer to God, the opening of the self to the Paramatman. It is performed as a series of acts, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once in the evening. The Devatas in the morning, afternoon, and evening are separate. Sandhya Vandanam itself happens to be the daily duty, but then the right to perform Sandhya Vandanam comes somewhat later in life. For this, we need to understand the Sanskara concept in Hinduism. In Hinduism, we say every creature which is born into a human family undergoes several stages where it is taught customs and duties. And this set of duties is called Shodasha Sanskara, or the 16 duties. Starting from marriage and conception up to demise and the funeral rites, the Antyeshti. In between we have various other samskaras like the naming ceremony or the hair tonsure ceremony, then the Upanayanam, then the Vidya Arambha, and so on. So after a person has been initiated into the Hindu ritualistic mode, when he gets the sacred thread during Upanayanam, then onwards he has to perform Sandhya Vandana every day without fail. Now, what is Sandhya Vandanam? It basically has three aspects. One is the propitiation of gods, and then the Arghya. What belongs to God is offered back to God. This act is an oblation or offering water, or to use the correct term, the Arghya. The second portion is the Dhyana or the Japa. There we dwell upon the form of the eternal of the deity. So normally meditation is done using the Gayatri mantra. This is the intermediate portion. And then in the third portion we have various gods being propitiated, the Vandana, after which you present your credentials, that is, you declare who you are with the help of the Pravara, and you do the Namaskaram. This marks the end of Sandhya Vandanam. So it's not a short procedure, it's a fairly long procedure, takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Sandhya Vandanam should be performed, as I said, by all who according to Dharma have been given the sacred thread. They should perform it without fail. It can be performed as a private act, that is, all alone without the help or aid from anyone else. One single person can perform the Sandhya Vandanam. But there is no rule that only Brahmins should perform Sandhya Vandanam. Anybody who has been given the sacred thread has a duty to perform the Sandhya Vandanam. It is said that a Brahmin who does not perform Sandhya Vandanam loses his Brahmin characteristics. Kshatriyas are also given the sacred thread, Vaishyas are also given the sacred thread. So if there is a question, who should perform the Sandhya Vandanam? All who are born into the Varnashrama and who at various stages in their life are given the sacred thread should perform the Sandhya Vandanam. Sandhya Vandanam should be performed thrice daily. As the term itself implies, it is Sandhya, meaning it is the Sandhi, the meeting point between the times. So, once it should be performed early in the morning when darkness meets light. Once it should be performed in the afternoon when the sun passes the meridian. Once it should be performed in the evening when the sun is setting and the stars and the other celestial lights begin to shine. 3 times a day the Sandhya Vandanam has to be performed. But among them there are certain Uttama, preferred timings, Madhyama and the Adhama timings. For example, in Pratah Sandhya Vandanam, in the morning Sandhya Vandanam, the Sandhya Vandanam should be begun before the stars disappear. Then along with the japa, which might take some time, until sunrise it may be performed. After the stars disappear, but before the sun rises, is said to be the Madhyama. But if Sandhya Vandanam is performed after the sun rises, it is referred to as the Adhama, the least preferred time of the Sandhya Vandanam. However, for lack of time, for lack of the appropriate window, the relevant Sandhya Vandanam should not be abandoned. Sandhya Vandanam contains some Sanskrit shlokas, some mantras, some acts with the hand. So there are many varieties of Sandhya Vandanam. The first being that there is a morning, afternoon and evening, but depending on the faith, depending on the affiliation, say to Dvaita or Advaita or Vishishtadvaita, the combination of mantras, devatas would be somewhat different. So, is there a standard Sandhya Vandanam procedure in India? A very clear answer is no. There is no single standard for Sandhya Vandanam. In fact, in praying to God and in offering one's devotion, there need not be a single standard. Our religion is so open, our teachers are so many in number, and they have had such excellent visions. So, depending on the affiliation, whether you are a Dvaiti or Advaiti or Vishishtadvaiti or whatever the faith may be, the Sandhya Vandanams will differ from each other. Now, what I am going to show will be the Advaita type of Sandhya Vandanam. Again, in Advaita, I am going to show you the Krishna Yajurveda style of Sandhya Vandanam. Going further, in Krishna Yajurveda, there are what are known as the sutras. So, some people, some Brahmins practice some particular sutras. Now, I belong to a group of Brahmins which practiced Apastamba Sutra. So, technically, you are now going to see an Advaitic mode of Krishna Yajurveda Apastamba Sutra Sandhya Vandanam. The proper place for performing a Sandhya Vandanam. The answer, interestingly, is that there is no particular place to perform Sandhya Vandanam. There is no murti, there is no idol to worship, there is no temple to visit. In fact, there is nothing. It is freehand, it can be performed anywhere, but the place should be clean. If it is performed within the house, such a part of the house must be chosen where the person can sit facing east or west or north. The place must be wiped clean, and he must have something to sit on. Now, if it is not performed within the house, where else can it be performed? It can be performed next to any body of water, either stagnant like a lake or a river which is flowing. It can be performed on the banks of a river or a lake. But the place should be clean once again, and the person must have the opportunity to sit facing east or west or north. The length of the Sandhya Vandanam depends on the number of repetitions of Gayatri Mantra that a person does. Anywhere between 100 and 1,000 repetitions of Gayatri Mantra are recommended. So, it would take somewhere close to 15 minutes to perform a basic Sandhya Vandanam. But then, if a person derives a lot of pleasure repeating the Gayatri Mantram, meditates on the form of Gayatri for a longer time, it could take longer. Sandhya Vandanam is to be performed as a duty. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat, jnanat dhyanam vishishyate, dhyanat karma phalatyagaha, tyagat chantiranantaram. As also elsewhere he says, karmanyeva adhikaraste, na phaleshu kadachana. Now, the benefits will be apparent in the long run. The benefits include ability to concentrate, ability to pronounce, ability to go through the basic steps of what today we call yoga. For instance, the Ashtanga Yoga is described as Yama Niyama Asana, Pranayama Pratyahara, Dhyana Dharana, Samadhi. Now, Sandhya Vandanam puts you through the Yama, Niyama and Asana steps. It contains Pranayama. Since you need to perform it thrice a day, it is to be performed away from your eating times. So, the yoga recommendation of Pratyahara forms a part of Sandhya Vandana. There is dhyana contained in the Sandhya Vandanam, then the dharana, hoping perhaps that it would lead to samadhi. So, a person who otherwise talks of yoga, yogasana, etc., is already performing many types of yoga when he performs Sandhya Vandana. Also, he is protecting dharma from observing certain rituals and rites recommended for the protection of our dharma. Now, there may be the sattvic, the rajasic or the tamasic rites for various types of gains. Adhibhautika, that is bodily or the material gains. Adhyatmika, something that will make you, yourself, your soul happy. And the Adhidaivika, something that can connect you to the hereafter and to the superior powers. This is the basic act that anybody who wants to progress towards connecting with oneself and connecting with divinity should perform, and this should be done every day. Now, to perform Sandhya Vandanam, you need a few things. First of all, you must have gone through the thread ceremony. We need to recognize that the thread which is worn on the left shoulder contains these knots. Brahmacharis will wear the thread in 3 strands, and married people will wear one more set of 3 strands. So, together there are 6 strands for a married man, 3 strands for a brahmachari, and the knots are usually kept together after wearing. Now, this is an absolute must. This is what gives you the first right to perform Sandhya Vandanam. A person who is not wearing the sacred thread does not have the right or the authority to perform Sandhya Vandanam. Next, a person needs a place to sit. If it is within the house, he must sit on some seat. The seat can be of cloth, preferably cotton or woolen, not synthetic. It could be a reed mat, it could be a wooden plank, it could be even deer skin. So that is called the asana. The place should be wiped clean, as I have said. And then one needs water. So where should the water come from? It should come from as unpolluted a source as possible. One doesn't have to go into hair-splitting arguments about what is pure water. If you trust the source of water to have been unpolluted, you can use that. But conservatively speaking, that water should have been drawn from a well, if there was a well, should have been lifted from a standing body of water like a lake or a river if such water sources are nearby. Otherwise, any pure water will do. First, it is collected in this kalasha patra. You can see the shape. Now, I am showing you a silver one because this was what was available. It doesn't have to be silver, it can be brass, it can be copper, it can be bronze. So, the recommended water collection must first be made into a kalasha patra. From here, water can be poured into what is known as the panchapatra. Now, in panchapatra again there are varieties. There could be copper, brass, silver. There is no ostentation here, so there is no recommendation for gold. Now, these spoons are known as the uddharani. These are for scooping up the water from the panchapatra. Now, once water is collected here, any water taken out of this is to be poured into either a vessel, a collecting vessel, or a collecting plate. So, this is known as the arghya patra. A vessel shaped like this is the arghya patra, otherwise it can be a plate. You see, it can be like this. If the shapes and sizes are somewhat different, it doesn't matter. What matters is the source of water. More water collected in a bigger vessel, smaller amount of water stored in this, and finally a place to pour the water. Then, a person sitting down for Sandhya Vandanam should not be bare foreheaded. On the forehead, he will have to wear a mark. Now, that mark is made by bhasma, which is collected from sacred fire. Where homas and yagnas are performed, the ashes from such homa kunda are collected and kept at home reverently near God. So, this happens to be bhasma. Now, people of different affiliations wear different forehead marks. An Advaiti wears this bhasmam. This bhasmam is originally poured into the left palm, a little bit of water is added, and then it's mixed. Then it is applied primarily on the forehead. It can also be applied in other parts of the body, which I will show you later on. Now, the Sandhya Vandanam will start, and then after the performance of the Sandhya Vandanam, what is to be done with the leftover water? Now, the leftover water will be taken away from here. It will be taken to such a place where no one else steps on the water. It should not go into the gutters. It should not go into the toilet. It should go to the root of a plant. Now, there are two views here. It can go into a tulsi or cannot go into a tulsi plant. But my belief is that it should go into a plant other than the tulsi, because this is what I have used and discarded. And this water, which comes in the collecting vessel after the Sandhya Vandanam, also contains what is known as the Papa Purusha water. So it doesn't go into a tulsi plant, it goes into any other plant. A potted plant at home will just do fine.